The starless night embraced the abandoned farmstead like a sinister shroud. The old house, its walls blackened by time and bad weather, with empty window sockets like vacant eyes, stood alone against the impenetrable darkness of the forest. 3 teenagers, the daring Max, the cautious Anya, and the silent Vlad, stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the cursed place. Curiosity, fueled by the locals' tales, lured them more strongly than common sense. They said that a family once lived here, whose disappearance was shrouded in darkness, and their restless souls still lingered among the ruins. The whisper of the wind in the treetops seemed like a warning, but the teenagers merely exchanged glances, anticipating a spine-chilling adventure. The creaking gate yielded with difficulty, letting them into the neglected yard. Gravel mixed with fallen leaves crunched under their feet. The beams of their flashlights snatched a dilapidated fence and the silhouette of the house, which inspired an unaccountable dread from the darkness. Entering through the ajar door, they found themselves in a realm of desolation. The musty air was thick with the smell of mildew, decay, and something strange, sickly sweet that evoked an unpleasant premonition. Beams of light slid over the remnants of furniture covered in a thick layer of dust, over frozen cobwebs in the corners, and sinister shadows dancing on the peeling walls. Silence pressed on their ears, broken only by their own breathing and the occasional creaks of the old wood. Suddenly, Max stumbled over some object lying on the floor. Bending down, he picked up an old children's toy, a porcelain doll. Its face was covered in cracks, and its empty, lifeless eyes stared straight at him, as if waiting for something. Anya shivered, feeling an inexplicable chill. Just as Max touched the doll's cold cheek, a quiet, drawn-out creak, like a sigh, echoed from the depths of the house. Vlad, who had been silent until that moment, swallowed nervously. "What was that?" Anya whispered, her voice trembling. Max, trying to hide his unease, shrugged. But in their eyes, the same question was read. Could the eerie legends be true? Had they awakened something that would have been better left undisturbed? Footsteps, quiet, barely discernible, yet distinctly audible, came from upstairs. Someone or something was moving on the second floor. Their hearts pounded wildly in their chests. Fear, abstract until now, took on a tangible form. "We need to leave," Anya whispered, backing towards the exit. But Max, whose curiosity outweighed his fear, shook his head. "No, I want to know what's going on here." Vlad, usually following Max, shifted uncertainly from foot to foot this time. A new sound, a soft sob, coming from somewhere in the next room. It was so plaintive, so full of longing, that goosebumps ran down their skin. What will you choose, viewer? Will you follow the prudent Anya, fleeing from the unknown threat? Or will you share Max's curiosity, risking a confrontation with something terrible? Perhaps you, like Vlad, will freeze in indecision, paralyzed by fear and the desire to know the truth. Max, giving in to impulse, headed towards the sound of the weeping, shining his flashlight ahead. Anya and Vlad hesitantly followed him, trying to stay close together. They entered a room whose setting spoke of a former nursery. Broken toys lay scattered on the floor, and the wallpaper peeled off in places, revealing the brickwork. The weeping stopped as abruptly as it had begun. In the center of the room stood an old wooden rocking horse. Its paint was cracked, and one eye was missing, giving it a gruesome appearance. Suddenly, the horse slowly rocked forward, then back. There was no wind or draft in the room. Anya gasped sharply. "We really need to leave," she whispered, grabbing Max's arm. But he was mesmerized. "Did you see that?" he murmured. Vlad nodded silently, his eyes wide with horror. At that moment, a quiet rustling sound came from behind the door at the far end of the room. Then another, louder one, as if something was scratching at the wood. Max slowly turned his flashlight towards the door. The shadow beneath the door began to grow, becoming increasingly elongated and distorted. "What is that?" Anya whispered, her voice trembling. The doorknob slowly turned. What will you feel, viewer, at this moment? Curiosity? Fear? The urge to scream and run? A pale, emaciated hand appeared from behind the creaking door. Its nails were long and black. Max recoiled. Even his bravery began to falter. The hand reached further, and a cloudy, joyless eye appeared in the crack. It stared directly at them. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a figure stood on the threshold. Tall and gaunt, with long, tangled hair obscuring its face. An icy cold emanated from it. The figure made a soft, hoarse sound, like a moan. Then it slowly raised its hand, pointing a bony finger at them. What will the teenagers do? Will they try to fight, or will terror paralyze them? Will they become the next victims of the cursed house? What decision will you make watching this scene? Will you close your eyes in fear or continue to watch, wanting to know what will happen? The choice is yours. But remember, sometimes curiosity can lead to the darkest corners. The figure stepped forward, and the weak light of Max's flashlight caught its face in the gloom. Or rather, what once was its face. Pale, waxen skin tightly stretched over sharp cheekbones. Eyes sunken, black hollows, but in their depths flickered a faint, malevolent light. The lips twisted into a semblance of a smile, revealing small, sharp teeth. An ice-cold whisper escaped its lips, sounding like an echo from the grave. "You should not be here." Anya screamed and recoiled, her back hitting the wall. Vlad froze as if paralyzed by horror. Only Max, despite the lump of fear rising in his throat, tried to maintain some composure. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling, aiming the flashlight beam at the eerie creature. The figure slowly extended a withered hand, and it seemed as if the air around it grew even colder. "We are the masters of this house." At that moment, a sharp creak echoed from the ceiling, and a piece of plaster crashed to the floor. The shadows on the walls danced like living things. Vlad finally snapped out of his stupor. "Run!" he croaked, pulling Anya's arm, but the figure blocked their path. Its movements were unnaturally smooth and swift. "You will stay," it hissed, and its eyes flashed with a sinister red light. What will you feel, viewer, when you realize there's no turning back? Which instinct will prevail, to fight or to surrender? Max, realizing that escape was futile, raised his flashlight like a weapon. "Stay back," he shouted. Though his voice trembled, the figure merely sneered contemptuously. Its thin fingers with black nails slowly clenched into a fist. Suddenly, another sound came from behind them, soft children's laughter. It sounded eerie and unnatural in this atmosphere of horror. They turned around. In the doorway stood the same porcelain doll that Max had found earlier. Its empty eyes now seemed to glow from within, and it was giggling. Now there were two of them, too dead, too hungry. What fate awaits the uninvited guests? Will they be able to escape the clutches of the ghosts of the past? Or will they become part of the gruesome history of this cursed place? What will you do if you were in their place? Will you find the strength to resist the darkness? Or will terror consume you completely? The climax is near. Are you ready to see it? Are you ready to know what lies behind the last door of fear? The doll stopped giggling and slowly turned its porcelain head, its empty eyes fixed on Anya. She screamed and tried to push it away, but the doll seemed rooted to the floor. Meanwhile, the tall figure moved towards Max. He desperately swung his flashlight, but the ghost seemed to pay no attention to the light. Icy fingers closed on his arm, restricting his movements. Cold pierced him to the bone. Vlad, who had been standing as if rooted to the spot, finally came to his senses. Grabbing an old wooden flower stand, he lunged at the tall figure, trying to distract it. The blow landed on the ghost's shoulder, but it merely turned, showing no pain or surprise. Its red eyes focused on Vlad. Anya, taking advantage of the moment, tried to break free from the doll's gaze, but it seemed to pull her closer with an invisible force. Her face contorted in horror as she felt an icy touch on her cheek. Max tried to pull his arm away, but the ghost's grip tightened. He felt the cold seeping into his body, paralyzing his will. In the ghost's eyes, he saw only an empty, hungry darkness. Vlad desperately swung the stand again, but the ghost easily intercepted his arm. Bony fingers squeezed Vlad's wrist with incredible force. He cried out in pain. The doll, meanwhile, moved closer to Anya. Its porcelain lips slowly parted, revealing tiny but sharp teeth. The last thing Max saw before darkness consumed his consciousness was the red eyes of the ghost leaning over him and the gruesome, triumphant smile on its distorted face. The terrified scream of Anya and the muffled groan of Vlad reached his ears. The next morning, the abandoned farmstead looked as serene as ever. Only a light breeze rustled the leaves in the trees. No one suspected that 3 new souls now inhabited the walls of the old house, adding to the grim history of this cursed place. And perhaps they are already waiting for new uninvited guests. Silence. Only silence. The end.